Hey guys, TheKaijudoChannel here with the top 10 Darkness cards of Duel Masters. Coming in at number 10 is Muahahaha the Twister. It's a very simple card. It's just a level 1 creature that has blocker, and then when it swings, it pretty much kills itself, and it only has 1000 power. Now, the only reason this is on the list is because it works in some sort of rush deck that uses Darkness. This actually works a lot better in the OCG because there's a lot of these Grave Evolution cards that are really cheap as well. Grave Evolution, the way it works is you evolve a creature from your graveyard, and since Muahahaha kills himself, it's like really easy to make him as Evo bait. That's the reason why he's so strong in the OCG, but in the TCG, I mean, he's still pretty awesome. I mean, he's a cheap blocker that can actually attack, and it's a 1-drop. If you look back on the Continental Championships or whatever, I think second place was a Fire Darkness Rush deck that used Muahahaha, and it was pretty cool, and that's pretty much all I have to say about Muahahaha. Coming in at number 9 is a personal favorite of mine, and I think this card is quite underrated, I guess, kind of under the radar, but it's Zombie Carnival. It is a level 5 spell, it's a shield trigger, and it's pretty much a triple Dark Reversal. Okay, the exception here is that you have to get 3 creatures back from your graveyard that have the same race. The only way you could use this card is if you're using some sort of deck that has a lot of, a lot of the same race, obviously, so that you can maximize its utility by getting 3 of the same race. I personally like to use Zombie Carnival over Morbid Medicine in Merino Control because there are a lot of Initiates and potentially Guardians, and heck, even Cyberlords because of Marinomancer and stuff, so that's why I like to use Zombie Carnival and Merino Control, and it's one of my favorite Darkness cards by far. Coming in at number 8 is Ghost Touch. Ghost Touch is simple. It's a shield trigger level 2 spell, and when you cast it, your opponent discards a card at random. That's pretty much all it does, but with all the other discard cards that Darkness has to offer in this game, the effects just pile up, and discard gets really annoying since you start with an opening hand of only 5 cards. If you stock up on the Ghost Touches and all those other discard cards, it just gets really annoying for your opponent, and it is definitely quite a useful card. Number 7 is Gajira Vile Centurion. I think this card's pretty awesome. I like to call it the kind of Bolmedius of Darkness, but not, not as powerful, of course. But, I mean, you've seen Earth Power's videos. He made this kind of Gajira Soul Swap kind of deck where he pretty much abuses Gajira effect, which destroys one of your opponent's shield and sends it to the graveyard without any shield triggers activating, just like that. And if you just keep on, somehow replaying Gajira over and over and over again, you'll just be, destroying one of your opponent's shields one by one, and they can't do anything about it. So that's a pretty neat effect, and that definitely deserves the number 7 spot on this list. Coming in at number 6 is Morbid Medicine. Now, I mean, personally, I still love Zombie Carnival more than Morbid Medicine, but let's just face it, Morbid Medicine is more easily played because you have more room to play it. I mean, you don't have to stick to, a couple of races and use a lot of creatures of the same race. You could use some sort of deck that has a variety of races. It's consistent. It's not a shield trigger, but I mean, I don't think you really want that kind of effect in a shield trigger. It's not quite necessary. I think you'd rather just cast it to get the cards you need whenever you need them, and not, just randomly when it gets activated through shields. So, Morbid Medicine, really nice. Level 4 spell, get 2 creatures from your grave. Really awesome. Number 5 is Locomotiver. Choo Choo Choo. Oh, I guess you could also sneak in Gigaballs in here too. It's the exact same card, but Locomotiver is more played, I guess. I don't know. It was the first version of the card, but it's a level 4 shield trigger creature with 1000 power. When it comes into play, your opponent discards a card at random. So it's pretty much a Ghost Touch in a creature, and usually effects on creature form is better because, like, not only do you get an effect, but you also get a creature on the board to, attack with, or use it as bait for evolution or something. There's a lot of things. I mean, this card's really good in Hydrus. I mean, Hydrus you evolve on top of either a Hedrian or a Cyberlord, and those are like 2 of the best races in the Water Civ and the Darkness Civ. So Locomotiver is really awesome in that sense. Coming in at number 4 is Bloody Skeeto. So it's a level 2 creature, can't attack at all, has 4000 power, and when it wins a battle, it dies too. Basically, it's a really cheap blocker that is a huge wall. So this is pretty much the best kind of anti-rush blocker, I guess you can say, because Ganta can't kill it. Ganta is probably the most threatening creature in one of those Fire Nature rush decks or aggro or whatever, and Bloody Skeeto just says no to those, powerful creatures, and it just gets in the way, and it's only 2 mana to play it. A lot of decks can use this as long as they're using Darkness. I mean, of course there are exceptions, but if you're running Darkness, Bloody Skeeto just fits in so well no matter what your strategy is, so that you can be sure that you're safe against Rush. Coming in number 3 is Lost Soul. Read the card. Your opponent discards his whole hand. Holy... Like, there's not many words to describe this card. Although the cost, the price tag of the card is quite expensive. It is a level 7 spell. But if you're playing a control deck that controls really well, and you get to turn 7 and you play this card, your opponent has no hand, and they're pretty much top decking for the rest of the game, and that's just brutal. Like, Lost Soul is just, it's a crazy card. I really don't know what else to say about it. It's just like, your opponent loses their whole hand. I don't know what to say. Lost Soul is just really awesome, and could be quite annoying. But not annoying as this next card, number 2, Cranium Clamp. I don't know what the heck they were thinking when they printed this card. Just that's what I'm gonna say. I don't know. Cranium Clamp, personally, I don't think it should cost 4 mana to play. I think it either should cost 5 or it has some sort of different effect, because I don't know. It's turn 4, you play Cranium Clamp, and then I know your opponent has to choose the cards he likes to discard, but by turn 4, if you haven't played any sort of draw power card, you're left with either no hand or like 1 or 2 cards at most. And that's just brutal, because you're keeping the powerful cards in your hand, after your draw card or whatever, and then, like, Cranium Clamp comes and you're like, well, there goes the plan that I was gonna do, the next few turns, and then you discard them. Personally, I don't think discard should be as prominent in Kaijudo. In the Darkness Civ, I think discarding is just too crazy in a game where you start off with only 5 cards in your hand. I don't know, I think discard's a bit too crazy, and I think it should be toned down quite a bit. Like, just don't print Cranium Clamp, that's crazy. Lost Soul, I mean, I guess that's more fair in a way. Maybe make it 8 mana, I don't know. 7 mana seems a bit much to me. But personally, I just think that discarding should be nerfed quite a bit so that it's not so crazy all the time. And now, the number 1 Darkness card, the best Darkness card. Come on, guys, it's obviously Death Liger, Lion of Chaos. Come on now, look at this guy. He's a Death Lion Liger thing that has double... okay, sorry, no, I can't do this anymore, sorry. Sorry, Shotcaster, as much as you love this card, it's unfortunately not going to be on this top 10 list, because obviously there's this one card I didn't talk about yet, and that's Terror Pit. Terror Pit. Terror Pit. Destroy one of your opponent's creatures. Shield trigger. Level 6 spell. That's it. It destroys a creature. Point blank. The only thing that's bad about Terror Pit is that it targets a creature, and you have those cards kind of like Petrova where you can't choose a creature for an effect. So, I don't know, Terror Pit. There's no words to describe it. You destroy one of your opponent's creatures. That's it. It's just... it's too good. And you know what's even better about this card? It's so splashable. I mean, you don't have to use Darkness to play this card. You could literally just run 4 Terror Pits in any of your decks, and you'll be fine. Because you have that in your shield triggers, and your opponent loses one. If you draw it early, just put it as your mana, and, tap it alongside your other cards to play cards. That's what I really love about these really powerful shield triggers, is that they can be easily splashed. Did you see the video duel I had against Calfonse a couple days ago? He used 4 Holy Aws in a Hydru's deck. Holy Awe and Terror Pit are just so splashable. It's ridiculous. And especially if you're using Nature and you're using Mana Nexus, because then you get to control your shields. Even Emerald and the Water Civ. I mean, there's just... I don't know. I love Terror Pit, and Terror Pit's crazy. and you'd be silly not to run this card. It gets the work done, let's just put it that way. That's it for the top 10 Darkness cards, but of course there are some honorable mentions that did not make it to the list. Of course there are other discard cards like Propeller Mutant, and I really wanted Clone Nightmare on this list as much as I love this card, but it's not as good as the other cards. Obviously I can't, just put Clone Nightmare just because I like it so much. But it's just such a cool effect, and the fact that like the more Clone Nightmares you have in your graveyard, the better the other Clone Nightmares in your hand gets. It's really cool in that sense. I like that. But yeah, it's not as good as the other discard cards, obviously. Of course, we have Necro Dragon Gilland. That's a pretty nice card because it's like the cheapest kind of Evo bait for Uber Dragon Bajula and that other Super Necro Dragon evolution guy. Of course, there's Balome. I know Alcadius made it into the top 10 light cards, but Balome, as much as it is really awesome, I think that the other cards I mentioned were more easily played, and they're better at what they do. And I mean, Balome, as much as he is a good card, Demon commands are a lot harder to go by, I guess you can say. Angel commands are, a lot easier to play as Evo bait for Alcadius, and that's why I think Alcadius is more suitable in the top 10 than Balome is. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you had a nice day. This is TheKaijudoChannel signing off. See you later, guys.